Today is Thursday, August 10th. What to know about catastrophic wildfires burning through a historic tourist town in Hawaii. Both Hawaiians and travelers are now desperate to evacuate. Also, we'll explain the FBI's tense confrontation with a man who threatened to assassinate President Biden. Plus, soon you'll need new documentation to go to Europe, 2 more streaming services are hiking prices, and thousands of people are willing to make a life-changing sacrifice, all for free sub sandwiches. Those stories and more coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in about 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Lacey Evans, filling in for Erica Mandy today. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. We start today with a state of emergency in Hawaii. Wildfires are ravaging parts of Maui, burning entire communities to the ground, leaving just ash and debris behind. Sadly, at least 6 people have died in the fires, and several more are unaccounted for. Authorities are doing search and rescue operations now on the island and in the Pacific Ocean, since some people fleeing the flames actually jumped into the water to avoid being burned, including some young children. Making search and rescue efforts even more complicated, the wildfires cut off power and disrupted 911 and other communication services in parts of the island. Satellite phones have been the only reliable way to get in touch with some areas, including hotels. Yesterday, officials told visitors to leave Maui as soon as possible. There was a mass bus evacuation to get people to the airport, and thousands of people are now staying there waiting for flights or in shelters, while a lot of local people have lost everything. Officials say hundreds of buildings have burned to the ground, mostly in the historic town of Lahaina, which is especially popular with tourists. And Maui's hospital system is reportedly overwhelmed with burn patients and people suffering from smoke inhalation. So far, it's not clear exactly what started the deadly wildfires, but they're being fueled in part by winds from Hurricane Dora, which is churning more than 800 miles away. Fire crews are trying to battle the flames from the ground and the sky. The Coast Guard, Navy, and Marines are also supporting the response, but as of this morning, the fires are still not contained. The FBI is investigating assassination threats against President Biden and many other top Democrats. But the man suspected of making those threats was shot and killed by FBI agents yesterday in Utah, where the president was visiting last night. The agents apparently went to his home to serve arrest and search warrants after a social media company gave the FBI a tip about some concerning posts online. And then the FBI kept an eye on him for months. It's not clear exactly what happened when they showed up to his home yesterday, but investigators say the man was armed, and FBI agents ended up opening fire, killing the suspect. Now, the agency is investigating. It looks like federal prosecutors got their hands on one of former President Trump's social media accounts, but it wasn't easy. Newly released court documents show special counsel Jack Smith had to get a search warrant to get access to Trump's account on Twitter, now known as X. But the social media company didn't want to comply right away, saying it wanted to notify the former president first. A district judge apparently overruled Twitter there, though, saying it would give Trump the, quote, opportunity to destroy evidence, change patterns of behavior, or notify others. Twitter ended up getting fined $350,000 for missing a deadline before eventually turning over the data and records. Even though Trump's tweets are viewable publicly, Twitter also holds on to non-public information like direct messages, drafts of tweets, location data, and more. It's not clear exactly what the prosecutor wanted to find from Trump's account, or whether the records ended up leading to the charges that accused the former president of trying to overturn the results of the 2020 election. But we do know the investigation had to do with the events surrounding the January 6th Capitol riot. Now that news of the search warrant has come out, Trump has a lot to say about it, saying it was a hit on his civil rights. But so far, no comment from the special counsel or the company now known as X. American oil production is set to hit a new all-time record this year. New federal estimates say oil output is expected to rise to an average of 12.8 million barrels a day. That's about 500,000 barrels a day more than the last yearly record that was set in 2019. It's also more oil than any other country on the planet produces. Oh, and oil output is expected to climb even more next year. So what's behind this trend? Well, a couple of things, like oil prices rebounding and drillers becoming more efficient. Either way, the extra production from the U.S. could help supply the market that's been tightened by oil-producing countries like Saudi Arabia, who have cut output to prop up prices. All the while, Americans are expected to actually use less gas, diesel, and jet fuel in the next few months. Still, the demand for natural gas is especially high, and extreme heat has sidelined some refineries. So the federal government isn't expecting gas prices to get much cheaper than they are now. More news is still coming up, but first, a quick break. Now, back to the news. It looks like the world's two largest economies are going to be collaborating a little bit less, at least when it comes to technology. President Biden signed an executive order that says venture capital and private equity firms will no longer be able to put money into Chinese efforts to develop semiconductors, quantum computers, certain AI applications, and more. Really, anything that might be used to help China's military or intelligence community. This is just the latest in a series of export controls between China and the U.S. The Biden administration says it's all in the name of national security, making sure American money and expertise can't be used to help China develop versions of what it already can't buy from American companies. But China says the order was designed to, quote, politicize and weaponize trade, and retaliation could be coming. Meanwhile, some Republicans in Congress say the executive order doesn't go far enough. They want to see the Biden administration go after existing investments, not just new ones, as well as other industries like biotechnology and energy. Either way, Biden's new order will go into effect next year. The Hollywood writers' strike has now officially surpassed the length of the last one, and at this point, there's not an end in sight. Screenwriters have now been striking for more than 100 days. Actors haven't been on strike for quite as long, but their contract negotiations are also at a standstill right now. For both the writers and the actors, issues include the use of artificial intelligence and residuals related to streaming. And the strikes have already had a huge impact on the economy. One estimate says they've likely cost the California economy at least $3 billion so far. And businesses in other states are feeling the pinch too. Productions being on hold impacts not just the studios, but companies that provide catering on sets, prop houses, costume shops, set builders, dry cleaners, professional drivers, florists, and more. Plus, a lot of the people out of work now are being more careful with their money, not buying a car or a home until the situation is resolved. Some business owners have told news outlets like Fox Business they've been forced to start cutting jobs and might even go bankrupt if these strikes don't end soon. The rest of us will start seeing more changes too, especially when it comes to new releases. TV networks are a month away from starting a new fall season, so broadcasters are already putting contingency plans in place. This seems to be an era of rising prices in streaming. Disney is the latest company to announce major price increases, joining Netflix, Peacock, Max, and Paramount Plus, which have all become more expensive recently. For Disney, the price hikes will apply to the ad-free versions of both Disney Plus and Hulu. When they take effect in October, the ad-free standalone version of Disney Plus will be $14 a month, double what it was when the streaming service debuted in 2019. Also, ad-free Hulu will rise to $18 a month, making it more expensive than more popular streaming services like Netflix or Max. That said, if you want to bundle Disney Plus and Hulu, you can get a discount. One more thing to warn you about. Disney also says it's going to crack down on password sharing, just like Netflix did earlier this year. The company didn't get into specifics, just said it's exploring new tactics and will roll them out next year. Here's a question for you. How far would you be willing to go for free sandwiches? For a lot of people, free subs would actually mean more to them than their own names. Subway decided to offer $50,000 in gift cards to one person who agrees to legally change their first name to Subway. Well, the restaurant chain says nearly 10,000 people answered the call in just 4 days. But Subway says it's going to select just one winner at random later this month. Besides the Subway gift cards, the person will get $750 to cover the legal fees associated with the name change. That's it for the main news today, but now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. Heads up if you think you might want to go to Europe next year. It will be tougher to book a spontaneous trip. Beginning in 2024, the European Union will require visitors get pre-approval. So before buying plane tickets or making any reservations, you'll have to submit an application with the European Travel Information and Authorization System, aka ETIAS. Some news outlets have called it a visa, but really it's more like a travel authorization form. The EU says it just wants to better track who's coming and going, especially with a rise in terrorism fears. So it will apply to everyone from 60 countries who are now able to travel to most European destinations without a visa. And yes, that includes Americans. Applicants will need to give travel documentation like a passport, education level, current job, anticipated trip details, criminal convictions, and more. The EU says people will get a response within 4 days, but that could be extended to a full month under certain circumstances. Once you have authorization, though, it's valid for up to 3 years, or until your passport expires. The travel authorization will be necessary to enter 30 different European countries like Spain, Germany, France, Italy, and Greece. And if you don't have the right documents, you won't be allowed in. Thank you for listening today. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.